Hi guys, Jenny with On Fire Fit, and welcome to day 3 of the battle plan. I hope you have already joined us for day 1 and day 2. Remember, I have all of this in writing in a download that you can print out. It'll be included in the description box below. But we are working on defeating giants that have been standing in our way, and I hope that you are on this journey with us because we need our allies. We need those people around us that encourage us, uplift us, and remind us that we're already in a place of victory and that we are just fighting against a battle that actually is going on up here, because once we get that right, the rest is going to fall into place since we already know that God is all powerful. There's a quote that you may have heard before: suffer the pain of discipline or suffer the pain of regret. I don't know if you've experienced that, but I know that I have. And somehow that discipline word is just something that kind of curls your toes and makes you feel uncomfortable. Discipline is actually a good thing, and you will notice that you're gonna be a slave to something, okay? You're either gonna be a slave to a terrible appetite and desires for all the junk that's causing you to have diabetes or heart disease, or you're going to be a slave to whatever manner of things that you might have: anger, pride. There's all different kinds of things that might be the giant that you've identified. And when you notice that you keep reverting back to certain behaviors that are destructive to you, you have become a slave to that. Whether you like it or not, you are. So the sooner you realize that, you know what, I don't want to be a slave to that anymore. I am going to be disciplined in a way that makes me a slave to the way God wants, because ultimately it's going to produce a harvest of abundance, and that is worth it. Who wants to be a slave to something that leaves them with regret? I would rather be a slave to something that develops discipline and an abundant life. And so I'm willing to do the work to get there. And I hope you are too. So yes, we don't necessarily like the word discipline, but that is what we are going to work on as you consider what soldiers go through. Soldiers are not undisciplined, and they definitely have daily discipline, and that's because they have an ultimate purpose in their life. So let's read from Hebrews 12, starting at verse 4. In your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood, and you have forgotten that word of encouragement that addresses you as sons and daughters. My son or daughter, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you, because the Lord disciplines those he loves, and he punishes everyone he accepts as his child. I think you know parents who discipline their children and those who don't. You probably, like me, enjoy being around the children that are disciplined. And ultimately, we can see, even as children, if we were disciplined, that our parents loved us. They loved us enough to put the time in to discipline us so that we did have a better, or do have a better life. And it's no different with God. He disciplines us because he loves us, and ultimately it's going to lead to a better life. So we need to yield to that and realize that whatever God has put on our heart as a discipline that will lead us to defeating our giant and to moving forward in that area of our life, it's going to be worth it, because it is going to create a different kind of freedom that we never knew we would have. It's kind of interesting. Just as soon as you become a slave to the right thing, you become free in so many ways. And I want you to be encouraged that it is something you can't really explain until you've experienced it, but it's definitely worth it. So today I want you to plan. Look at the giant that you identified. How could discipline help you to defeat him? What specific action could you take today that would be in line with that kind of discipline? And resolve knowing that in the past, discipline might have been hard for you to carry out, but now it's becoming more clear why it's so important, and that now you actually have the ability to carry out this discipline and you're resolved to do it. Anticipate the things that might come your way that are going to threaten to take you off track. If you're one of my on fire food people, I'm sure you can anticipate things today that might come your way to tempt you. And I want you to consider what they might be and how you are going to fight back and what you are going to use to deflect that incoming arrow. And then yearn again for God and his plan and what he says. There's a verse in Psalm 119:20 that says, "My soul is crushed with longing after your ordinances at all times." What a powerful statement. My soul is crushed with longing after your ordinances, your laws, at all times. To get to a point where you feel that kind of yearning for what God wants, you will start to walk in freedom that you never knew. And that giant will look like an itty bitty little problem to you. So I pray that you would be encouraged today to be disciplined, act out your plan, and we'll see you tomorrow. Go live on fire.